Watching some Manny Pacquiao fights last night, I wanted to go back and look at his earlier career. So I watched the fight with David Diaz, and you know what? The more and more I watch Manny's career, and I go back and I rewatch his fights, and I really, the more I realise that, for me personally, he is the greatest fighter that I've ever seen. And that's my opinion, right? And everyone's entitled to their opinion. And it's just, for me, it's just plain obvious, you know, just how relentless he is, just how tough he is, just how brave he is. And also the fighters that he has beaten in his career are brilliant fighters. Like David Diaz had a great record. He's a really brilliant world champion. And Manny, when he first won the 135-pound title, he absolutely destroyed him. And David Diaz said, you know, fuck, he goes, I thought Freddie Roach was in there hitting me as well. That, you know, this guy was so fast. And then I looked at Pacquiao's fights with Timothy Bradley, and I really like Bradley, by the way. I really respect him. I loved him as a fighter. He's a good person. But I have to be honest, that first Pacquiao fight, I really thought that was a, I don't want to use the word robbery. I don't want to disrespect Bradley because I really like him, as I said, but Pacquiao won that fight, and obviously they had 3 fights. Officially, Pacquiao lost the first one, won the next 2, and you know that's what makes Pacquiao the greatest, because I hold and still hold Timothy Bradley up there as one of the greats. I think he's underrated. Timothy Bradley was a great fighter. He was a great boxer, tough, intelligent, and Pacquiao beat him. You know, he beat him 2 times out of 3, really 3 times, right? And that's not taking away anything from Bradley, because he did give Pacquiao a good fight in it. So that's why I don't want to use the word robbery. I don't feel that. I think that discredits Tim Bradley, but Pacquiao definitely won that. It was a bad decision, right? And even Bradley said, he was honest enough to say, I've got to go home and look at the fight and see if I really won it, but I felt like I deserved to win it. And just looking at the fact that Pacquiao's still going now, if you look at all the other fighters that he's beaten, none of them are going. And no disrespect to any of them, they're all fighters that I loved Barrera growing up, Barrera and Morales. They're amazing, brilliant fighters, unbelievable Mexican warriors, but they're retired now, and Pacquiao's still going. You know, De La Hoya, another fighter that I loved growing up and thought he's a brilliant fighter, multiple weight world champion. You know, Pacquiao destroyed him. Really, he shouldn't have really beaten De La Hoya based on science, based on reality that Manny was too small. De La Hoya is he's not a massive man, but he's not small, and Pacquiao took him apart. So it's just watch his fights. Just look at the magnitude in how he beats people. Look at the punches that he takes. I just think he's yeah. The more I think about it, and the more I study his career and go back, and even the fight where, I need to remember this guy's name, but when he fought the South African champion, it begins with an L, right? You guys will know the name. Labrada something. I can't remember his name, but he was a very good champion, and Pacquiao was the underdog who came in at short notice. I think a couple of weeks' notice, right, for a replacement. Look what Pacquiao done to me. He ripped the title off him. That was the kind of his introduction onto the American market, onto the world scene. Because before that, I think Pacquiao's fights, most of them were in the Philippines, right? They weren't in America. Nobody knew who he was until he won the title from the South African, and then when he beat Barrera, that was like the first fight I saw against Barrera, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe it. Who's this guy? It's this Filipino guy that's destroying a legend. You know, one of my favourite fighters that I watched growing up, Antonio Barrera, the babyface assassin, another relentless fighter. And what I like as well is, like, Pacquiao's perfect record's not perfect. He did get beaten. That's what makes me like him more. He's more like a Rocky character, but he come back. Like, Morales beat him. You know, Morales was brilliant. Pacquiao came back, regrouped, learned, got his strategy right. And if I'm not mistaken, he knocked Morales out. I think he beat him. Didn't they have 3 fights and Pacquiao beat him twice? Or I'm sure they had 3 fights. They had multiple fights. I'm sure he beat Barrera twice. And you know, and the Marquez. You know, he beat Marquez twice. I think they had a draw, and Marquez knocked him out. And I think it was Gervonta Davis's trainer that said, you know, Pacquiao is an unbelievable fighter because most fighters, if not all fighters who would have got knocked out in the manner in which Pacquiao got knocked out in the Marquez fight, they'd never be the same again. They'd never ever be the same mentally. Their soul would be taken, not taken really, but in terms of, you know, being a fighter. But Pacquiao just came back like nothing happened. He went on to be a better fighter, in my opinion. Went on to win more multiple championships, and he's still going. And I rewatched the Keith Thurman fight again. I just wanted to make sure. And I mean, unbelievable performance from Thurman. You know, the toughness in terms of what punishment he took and how he came back. But Pacquiao, you know, how can I say it? Pacquiao beat the living daylights out of him. It was just unbelievable. Pacquiao's ring IQ, his toughness again. And again, it's amazing to see a small man doing this. He's not even a big welterweight. You know, he's probably a lightweight, and it's not even, Manny wouldn't even be considered, I think, as a big light. If you look at the lightweights today, Teofimo Lopez and you know, and Ryan Garcia, they're all bigger men than Pacquiao. They've all got bigger frames. So Pacquiao, it's amazing to think that a little man can beat big men up so convincingly. It's and just the way that he evolved, it really is unbelievable. That's why I'm putting these vids out on my main channel, because it's that unique. I don't think we're going to see anything like this for a long time. So yeah, going into the Spence fight, I'm not biased, you see, because I still got the courage to say that I make Errol Spence the favourite, just based on his youth, where he's at now. But I still think Pacquiao can beat him. A lot of people are saying, who know a lot about boxing, that Pacquiao has got the style to beat Errol Spence. You know, Errol Spence is slower, well, he's going to be slower on his feet than Pacquiao, and he does seem to throw, you know, he doesn't seem to throw like loads of punches in combinations where Pacquiao does. Pacquiao said the other day in an interview, everybody's worrying about my layoff 2 years. No, he goes, it's an advantage, because it's going to be almost 2 years since he fought Thurman, or by the time he gets in with Errol Spence in August, but it's given him time to recover. And if you think about his age being 42, which I don't think people are, you know, they're a bit exaggerate about age, but I understand why they say it. But if you think about his career, he's had a lot of toe-to-toe bloodbath wars. Probably needs that 2 years to recuperate, recover. And if he's got anything left in him, which I really believe he has, seeing him train, and I think he's a smart guy. I think he wouldn't take this fight just for money. I think he takes the fight because he really believes he can beat Spence, and he sees something. So look, if he beats him, it's unbelievable. If he doesn't, it's still unbelievable. He's still a legend. He's still, for me, the greatest to ever do it, based on his achievements, how he did it, and the fact that he didn't beat easy people. I could understand if people said, well, Pacquiao's not one of the greatest because he didn't fight anyone, or he beat people when they weren't in their prime, but that's not the case. That's not the case. I mean, he beat loads of people that are in their prime. Of course, he did. Some of the people he beat, they weren't in their prime, but that's just boxing. It's impossible to fight everyone in their prime. It doesn't really work like that. But he beat enough champions, more than enough, in their prime when they were still good. You know, he ripped the titles away from them, and you know, in his 40s, it's like he's gone into like another chapter, and he's beaten champions that are in their 30s, Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman, who was undefeated. Going into that fight, I genuinely believe Thurman thought he was going to win that. I really believe, you know, that he thought he was going to beat the 40, as he said, the 40-year-old legs of Pacquiao. And you know, why wouldn't he think he's going to win? He's undefeated to that point, and he beat great fighters. He beat Danny Garcia, he beat Sean Porter, and he beat them when they were even better than they are now, I believe. And he beat, you know, and I still think that's a very good win, beating Jose Cito Lopez. That guy's better than people are giving him credit for. That guy's very tough. He hurt Thurman in that fight, and Thurman beat him. So Thurman beat great fighters. Thurman went into that fight being undefeated, beating good opposition, top quality opposition, and going in, you know, really the favourite to beat Pacquiao, and Pacquiao just showed a different level of relentlessness. It was just he just wasn't going to lose in that fight. And to be fair, I thought the fight was a lot. You know, I didn't really agree with the scorecards, but you know, then again, that's boxing, I guess. Not to say that Thurman didn't win some rounds, he did, but if I'm being honest, I didn't give Thurman more than 4 rounds. I tried to be as honest as I could and non-biased, and I struggled to give him more than 4 rounds, because some of the rounds where Thurman was winning, and Pacquiao, for me, stole them off him as the rounds were ending by hitting him with, you know, big shots. And that's just what I saw Pacquiao do in the Bradley fight, where Bradley was winning the round. Then even the commentator said Pacquiao's nicked that because he's just landed 3 big right hands, or you know, he's landed big shots. And Pacquiao is very good at doing that. He's very slippery and intelligent and smart at, you know, and Mayweather's a master at doing that, at nicking the round. You could be winning the round for the first 2.5 minutes, and then at the end he hits you with a really hard set of combinations that are eye-catching, and maybe he shouldn't take the round off you, but because the punches are so accurate and concussive, it you know, it undoes the work that you did in the earlier stages of the fight. So yeah, I've just been enjoying, and not just watching Pacquiao's fights, studying fights, and really, like I said, really realizing that, you know, Pacquiao beat great fighters. And like I said, other than the Mayweather loss, all of his losses, really, most of them, he avenged them. The people that beat him, he beat them back. I suppose I'm not even going to include Jeff Horn. No disrespect to Jeff Horn, nice fella, great guy, but he didn't win that fight. That was just, I'm not even going to mention it. So other than Mayweather, who Pacquiao didn't get the opportunity to avenge that loss for whatever reason, all of the other fights where he lost, he come back and knocked them out. You know, he figured them out, and he had made adjustments. That's a great fighter. Where can you attack him? There's no holes really. There's no flaws. Somebody who beats everyone, who's an 8-weight world champion, and he comes back, and when he loses, even when he gets robbed, he just says, "Look, I respect the judges. Fair enough. Good luck to the man." That's a gentleman. I don't see many people doing that. Not even boxers. Just people in life being that humble when they've clearly been. When it's been, you know, unfairly, you know, when they've had a decision that's just not fair. So, yeah, really looking forward to this fight. It's great seeing him training, but yeah, when you look at Spence, you do think, oh man, this is going to be a tough one, because Thurman was tough, but Pacquiao, in my opinion, it wasn't an easy fight, but he won it convincingly. But ERROL Spence is going to be a tad. In my opinion, I could be wrong, more difficult than Thurman, because he's just that much better than Thurman. It's close, and some people will disagree and go, no way, ERROL Spence is in a different level, and I can agree and understand, but just looking at performances and who they beat so far, Thurman's up there. He's up there with all the best, so it's not stupid to say, you know, Thurman's on ERROL Spence's level, but I just think ERROL Spence is that much. Even if it's a margin, he just has a little bit more, and he's got he's a better boxer for me. He's you know, more of an acute, brilliant at the fundamentals, and he's a special fighter. He just can go to that next level, but so can Pacquiao. And I think it feels like there's a quiet excitement and confidence of Pacquiao proving all the doubters wrong again, or proving many people wrong. But look, I can understand why people are skeptical, because they're using logic, they're trying to be as intelligent as they can. But who knows, man? If anyone can do it, it's Manny Pacquiao, looking at his career and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know how some of you feel. Have a look back at some of the fights, not just the recent ones, Thurman and Broner and De La Hoya and Hatton. Go further back, you know, when Pacquiao was a lightweight and when he was a featherweight, and watch the great fights he had with a lot of the great Mexicans, and it's unbelievable. You know, and even go back and watch the Timothy Bradley fights. They were great. They were great fighters. Great. That's why I rate Timothy Bradley one of the best. I think Andre Ward fought him in the amateurs, and he said that He was one of the toughest guys he fought, and Bradley was a brilliant boxer. I remember when Bradley came over to the UK and beat, you know, one of our champions, Junior Witter, and I was really impressed, and seeing all of his other fights as well. So yeah. Anyway, that's another video to add to the collection, all right? And I'll look forward to reading the comments below, and let me know who you think is going to win out of Spence and Pacquiao. I know I've asked this before, I've said it in other videos, but maybe this is the first one you've come to, and let's talk about it, all right?